Hi there. I'm going to be commentating on KCL B, that's King's College London B, aka the Chess Donuts, against Oxford University B, which is a big match. In fact, the A team have beaten Oxford University B in a previous version of this, and then let's see if we can do the double over them. So for Kings tonight, we have Safwan Ak. I don't know how to pronounce your name, I'm so sorry, Saf. But he's a very strong player. On board 1 here. And on board 2, we have Pascal. On board 3, we have Pablo. And on board 4, we have Timo, who played in our last match as well as Pascal. And Timo pointed out to me that in my commentary I'd missed a tactic in one of his games, so it's a bit embarrassing. I'll have to concentrate a bit better today. There's a chance that Andre's joining on bottom board. As you can see, there's only 20 seconds, so I don't know if he's going to make it in time. We're about to see 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Okay, looks like he's not going to join. But anyway, here we have the game starting. So it's going to be quite a tough match. I think we're slightly outrated. These rapid ratings don't mean a huge amount, but the blitz ratings are more accurate. So let's open up the games here. Board 1, board 2, board 3, board 4. So let's look at Saf versus on board 1. And as you can see in this game, we have the Rosselimo, Sicilian, answered by d6, which I think is called the Canal attack or something. Not sure. Anyway, yeah, this is all quite normal. At some point, White's going to play a4 and d4, maybe even c3, d4, that kind of thing. And yeah, Black's going to develop normally here. White might want to drop his bishop back to f1. I think this is normal in this position because you've made the space with the rook. That's why you pushed the rook here. But anyway, we'll see how this game develops. Let's look at the other one. So Pascal hasn't turned up. His opponent has just played one e4, and Pascal isn't there. Oh, Pascal's now played e5. Let's see. Looks like we're going to get Italian or Spanish or maybe even a Scotch. We'll find out. Let's see. Okay, we get the Spanish, the Roy Lopez. Let's see how Pascal's going to answer that. Ooh, okay. This is a line I know nothing about, but I know it's a thing. I've seen it tried at some top level before, but I think this is, if I'm not right in saying, there is a line here that's a forced draw, but I don't think White will go for it. I don't actually know how that line goes, but we'll see, I suppose. Yeah, so here, the idea, I guess, is to push d5. Not now. Oh, well, he goes for it anyway, but after takes, my question is, rook e1 check here. Yeah, and now these pawns look very weak to me. I quite like White's position here. The engine's giving a slight advantage for Black, but I don't buy that. Because this looks very natural, as does this as well, right? Anyway, let's have a look at Pablo. So Pablo's facing a Dutch defence here, where his opponent is about to play b7. This is a sort of sideline in these kind of positions where Black tries to clamp down on this square here, the e4 square, and at the same time we'll also try and push e5, probably not in one go, but maybe e6 first, then sort of queen e7, maybe queen f8, bring the rook across, and then sort of push over here. And meanwhile, White's going to claim a lot of queenside space. So it's going to be quite an interesting game here. We'll stick with this after I've looked at the final board, which is Timo versus Fur 8888. And yeah, this position looks like some kind of strange Najdorf. I'm not quite sure how this got here. Let's have a look. So we've got the open Sicilian. So he goes for knight c6 first, and then e5. So he hasn't inserted knight f6. Normally here, you go for this, and then here, and then you have the Najdorf or the dragon or the Sveshnikov, that kind of stuff. But instead he goes knight c6, and this is transposed to some kind of Najdorf, although in these Najdorf structures usually this bishop's here and this is here, or you play b7 to b5 and you put the bishop on b7. Anyway, let's go back to Pablo's games. I thought this was quite interesting looking in the Dutch. So after saying that I'm not sure black's going to get e5 in one go, that's exactly what he goes for. Yeah, I'm thinking taking here is not ideal. It's one of those sort of, what's the words, truisms in chess that the person, you don't want to be the person to break the tension. So here we've got tension between these two pawns. Pablo breaks it first. I can't quite put my finger on why, but this doesn't look quite right to me. I sort of want to maybe just play here or here. And then if black pushes e4, you're going to claim that's actually quite a good thing for you because A, you open up this bishop's diagonal, and B, you close down this bishop's diagonal. So black, yes, he's gained some space, but you also have a lot of space, and his bishops become worse, and your bishops become better. So I don't think you needed to take here. Yeah, so he does it now. Natural seeming, yeah. Okay. So in some position here, white's going to try and break through on the queen side. So he pushes. See, to me, this doesn't seem right. Like black wants to play on this side of the board. Yeah, push these pawns, this kind of thing. White wants to play on the queen side, and pushing c5 to me helps white in opening up this side of the board. Because if you imagine like trade, let's imagine you have to take back the pawn for a minute. You don't, but in these kind of positions. And then suddenly this is a weakness, this is a weakness, and yes, these pawns are weaknesses as well. Because white is strong on the queen side, it's going to be easier for him to target these pawns than it is for black to target white. So I actually maybe wouldn't have pushed here, although I suppose it gives you the knight c5 square if you don't. So here what Pablo's going to do is going to try and push a5. He's going to take, and then try and come in down the a file. The thing that annoys me about this, though, and not annoys, but makes me think twice about this, is that normally this pawn, if you imagine like this, right, takes, and this bishop isn't here, then the rook has this square. If takes, then you get a passed pawn, and this pawn is weak. And if you don't take, then you double the rooks. But because this bishop is here on b7, then that's not going to be possible. And this bishop's very hard to trade off, because this bishop's not getting onto that diagonal anytime soon, right? This diagonal here. Yeah, so Pablo trades, that makes sense. Okay, we'll see how this game progresses. Let's go back to Saf for a minute. So Saf has a very nasty looking threat here, which I'm sure he's going to go for, of this. And the point is that the only way to stop this is pushing here. If you push here, then you drop this pawn. If you push here instead to try and stop it, you're just going to take en passant, and then you get the check anyway. So this looks very nasty, and I've got the engine turned on here. I'm going to turn it off, but interestingly, the engine was suggesting queen b7, which makes a lot of sense because it's stopping the queen getting to your square. Not stopping, but it's threatening to trade if that's what he does. I think if black doesn't stop the queen coming into the square, white's just going to be winning, I think. So it'll be very interesting to see what black does here. He's quite a good player, so I'm sure he will spot this. But as soon as I saw this move here, I knew what Saf was thinking, right? Could potentially play bishop here as well, but that seems slightly less congruous with the rest of the position, because you've got these pieces lined up down here, and this blocks your pawn, unless I suppose you go bishop here to here. But something about queen b7 seems a bit more natural to me. Anyway, black's in the tank here, so we'll see where that goes. Pascal, meanwhile, has got a similar queen-bishop battery here, but this is a lot worse because it's blocked by this pawn, and this pawn is isolated and very easy targeted. In a lot of these structures, if you imagine this black queen was a pawn, and the black queen was over here, let's say, then this would be significantly better for black, even if you took another white pawn off, like there, right? Sorry, added another white pawn, like somewhere, because this bishop would be blocked, but here, this pawn can only be defended by one of black's pieces, and so this pawn's actually a weakness. and his bishop's permanently attacking it. So this looks very nice for white. And yeah, white's just trading rooks because he's up a pawn here. So he's just saying, I'm happy to go into an endgame where I'm going to have two bishops against your bishop and knight. You have a weaker pawn structure and you're down a pawn. So this makes a lot of sense. Here, this is quite a tricky little move because he's threatening mate. Always worth a try, I suppose. And yeah, I quite like this actually because now this pawn's not so much of a weakness, it's harder to target. And in some future, you might play something like first. The question is, does white want to trade? Because that might be closer to a draw if white trades. Yeah, because even though white's up a pawn, these pawns here are all on dark squares. Whereas white's pawns, look, are all trapped on light squares like this. Which means that this white square bishop is really bad because it's blocked by its own pawns. It can never target any of black's pawns. Whereas this bishop has a free range of the board and can target lots of white's pawns. But this is actually now just winning, right? Did I just miss this? Yeah, queen e, yeah, this is busted. I actually didn't see this. So queen e1, and then you drop the f7 pawn, and now you're just getting mated. Pascal has gone down. I can't believe I missed that, but the game's gone. Anyway, unlucky Pascal. That means Oxford have taken a 1-0 lead. Let's go back to Timo, who has a sort of typical, what I would say, sort of positional weakness in the sort of Najdorf structures, where at some point white has planted a piece on here, and then black's traded, and as a result, this pawn becomes less weak because you can't target it down this file. But you open up the e4 square for one of your pieces, and the d6 pawn becomes weak like that. And if you push f5, then suddenly there's a lot of holes around black's king. Although that might be fine here because black's got a dark square bishop and white doesn't. So these holes can be, plugged by this bishop here. Yeah. But f5 does sort of want to be played at some point. Otherwise, you're just sitting on a passive position. And even though this is double-edged, it gives you play. Otherwise, where's your play coming from? Because you can't really push here. You're just weakening your own pawn structure. Yeah, it goes for f5. So I guess knight. Yeah. Knight g3. I'm trying to work out what happens next though, because you never want to push this, because then you give this e4 square permanently. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Just cementing this pawn structure. This is not hanging anymore. And now you're saying, right, what are you doing? I would consider. I don't know how ridiculous f4 is, with the idea that if you push, then you come back here and into this square, and then this pawn is weak. It's a nice blockading knight, but maybe you just don't need to do that, and you can just control the file. The idea here is that if, say, you play here, then you trade and trade, and this pawn becomes weak, even though it's defended by the queen, because you can play something like maybe you trade another pair of rooks first, and then play queen c2. Quite an interesting strategic struggle here, I would say. So the engine here is crying out for f4, but to me, it's given up now. But at first it wanted f4, but to me that's not a very human move, because this knight is permanently wedged on the square. It's very hard to dislodge. Unless, I suppose, you go f4, f3 immediately. Now, that's quite interesting. And he goes for it. So I think if you go here, and then you allow this move, then white is considerably better. So you have to play f3 here, I would say. Let's turn this engine off. Because, as I said, if you say, I don't know, let's go, yeah. If you say you went here, you tried to trade rooks or something, yeah, okay. So here, queen d7, allowing the rook to come across and targeting this pawn. You get that with tempo. And then in some lines, you might get things like this, right? And then to defend that pawn, you're going to have to push here. And then you can switch to the dark squares, which become very weak. Yeah, so he goes for queen d7, which is definitely the best move. Perhaps white plays here now and claims the file permanently. It just gives up that pawn. Oh no, but this is going to be mate. What am I talking about? Yeah, now just take. What am I missing? That's mate. Take it. Yeah, how do you stop this? Nice one, Timo. He's used 2 minutes. He's got 2 minutes left against his opponent's 8.5, which suggests a bad use of time, I would say. Well done, Timo. Drawn it back to 1-1, unless I've missed a result. Let's go back to Pablo here. Ooh, this is interesting. How did we get here? So, yeah, this plan that I talked about happened with a5. Takes. Ah, I like this. Yeah, so you're targeting this pawn. And you're also blocking the file. And then what's Pablo's idea with this knight? I suppose he wants to go here, but you don't. Maybe you get into this square, because this, that's a good point actually, because this knight's moved from here to defend this pawn, then this knight's going to come in here, and after trades, then you've got control of the file. That's really nice. I like Pablo's play here. So first of all, you target a weakness, black has to respond to it, and then in doing that, you open up a new weakness, which is this square, and then what Pablo goes for that weakness. That's a very instructive bit of play from Pablo. So what's wrong with this immediately? What was wrong with here? This made a lot of sense to me. And this makes a lot less sense. Like, where's this queen going here that it didn't go when it was here? Because this diagonal is... Okay, no. Okay, so he comes here, trying to take over the file. But now my question is, what happens after 95? 95, because the engine's not suggesting it. I keep turning his engine off, it keeps turning back on, but the engine's not suggesting it. To me, that's a very natural move, because at the moment, this knight is attacked twice, it's defended once. 95, maybe just queen in here, and you're claiming, that's quite nice. Yeah, queen in here and you're going to win this pawn, right? Because if you trade, then you've got 2 attackers on this pawn. Yeah, I think that just wins a pawn. Yeah, so now queen d6 still. That looks really strong because, I think you might have missed the boat there. Queen d6 looked very strong because you pretty much have to trade queens, and after trades again, like this, then this pawn is attacked twice and it's impossible to defend again. But instead, Pablo goes here. Now bishop g4 just wins because you pick up this piece. So bishop g4 is a winning move. Will Pablo see it? So again, this is an example of a weakness of the last move, right? That you suddenly leave the g4 square for your bishop. Now Pablo maybe sees this, but wants to take first and not allow any shenanigans with f3. But I don't think that's quite as good, because now you can defend this threat. Yeah, that's quite nice. You defend this threat like this because you block the file. And now black's also maybe threatening this move, which looks really nasty, because if you take, then you take and you lose the queen. If you don't take, then your pawn structure is getting destroyed. So, yeah, bishop g4. But he should have gone for that move earlier. Now, queen takes, and what happens? This looks very messy, and I'd be a bit scared with a minute on the clock for Pablo. I think we're going to stick with this one. Yeah, and now knight takes. Wins the pawn. Oh, Pablo. So knight takes, queen takes, rook takes, and then knight takes here, and the point is that your knight on e4 is defending this pawn on f2. Oh, well, it's also being attacked by the rook. But that looked quite good somehow. Anyway, I think Pablo still has an advantage here. Because this pawn's well defended, so it's not getting attacked. This move no longer works because you can just take. And this pawn is still really weak. This knight is a really, really good piece. And it looks like it's out of the game here. You know, people say knight on the rim is dim. But in this position, you're going to find, I guarantee, in the next 10 moves, this knight's going to become really strong and it's going to take this pawn. I hope. I hope Papa doesn't move it back here, which is quite tempting. So it's black to move. The question is, does this move do anything? Because you can't take, because this here. I'm probably missing a really obvious tactic. But, well, if you just go here, you're just going to take, right? And then you defend laterally, you win this pawn. Wow, it's really raining out here. Last week when I commentated it was thunder and lightning, and now it is again. Christ. Yeah, black's in a tough spot here. Okay, we'll come back to this when black stopped thinking. Pascal is losing again in this position, I think, because black's up 2 pawns, and yes, they're doubled here, but black's also got better pieces. Because you're gonna, yeah, I thought maybe here that you play this, but then maybe, yeah, black gets a second rank. Okay. So he wins back one of the pawns, but I don't think that mattered too much because that pawn's not doing anything as long as this pawn's on the board. Now this knight looks a bit out of play, so what's the best plan for black? Maybe just bring your king in. And then if white does nothing about this, then this knight's going to get trapped because he has no squares. So after this, then you get check. Here. Here. Here, here, and then maybe yeah, I mean black should be considerably better here, but it's not that easy to push through because you don't really want to push e5 because then you get d5 and suddenly white has counterplay of its own. I'm sure black's probably winning there, but it looks unnecessarily messy. What happened in Timo won. Excellent. I think I missed that game, the end of that game. Oh no, I didn't, that was this. This was the game with Queen H3. I'm really not with it this evening, I'm so sorry. Which is quite an interesting one. So we have a sort of Benoni here by a very weird transposition. You don't often get a Benoni come out against an e4, but after g6, white plays d4 and then c4 and then c5, and now we have a Benoni where normally here black plays here, takes this sort of stuff, and then bring the rook across, knight here, and then trades, all this sort of thing. But instead, black goes for e5, which is, this move is normally called the check Benoni, but I think in this position it's slightly different because white's inserted f4, and I can't imagine that's therefore as good because white gets immediate. A lot of these check Benonis, this pawn is here, and white spends a lot of time trying to move this knight out of the way and then pushing this pawn. So here white's got it for free. So I'd imagine white's just better here at the opening, but it's all to play for, and by no means is white losing. Yeah, this looks a bit dodgy because now this pawn looks very weak. Okay, but black's coming straight in here. Yeah, I like that. Okay. I mean, concretely, this is now good. This is actually fine for black, but as a general rule, taking that pawn looks a bit questionable. But yeah, white just helps him now. That doesn't look like a good move because black wants to come back here anyway. Now after trades, then black can maintain a piece here, which is really important because if a black had to take back with a pawn at any point, oh, he does. Okay, so it's actually a lot better to take with a knight here because what black wants to do is keep this e4 pawn as a backwards pawn, as a weakness. So black wants to castle, bring the rook across to e8, and then claim that this pawn is going to be permanently weak, and it's a backwards pawn. These 2 pawns are controlling white's 3 pawns. Okay, but instead black takes with a pawn, and this is really ugly actually, because not only have you now given white a double protected pass pawn, you've also blocked in your own bishop. And yet this knight has such a beautiful square on e5. That looks quite a sad positional move. Here I'm wondering if you can just play this, because after here then you take the bishop. So I think that was just a hanging pawn, but either way this position is really, really good for white now. Because even if you imagine all these pieces coming off the board, this is a losing king and pawn endgame because of this passed pawn. Rook endgames are bad. Like, there's no... In a lot of these positions that black gets and stuff, or these dynamic positions, black can say, oh, I can hope for this position where if I trade these pieces or this happens, then this position will be, this is better for me. I'm either better or I can draw or whatever. Whereas in this position, you're going to be suffering until the end of the game because you're never ever stopping this pawn from being a pass pawn. Your pieces have no play, and yes, it's equal material, so you can probably hold on, but for the next, minus any blunders, for the next 30 moves, 40 moves, black's going to be suffering. Now you can maybe double on this file, or just push this first. Yeah, I mean, black is really cramped. If you go here, then you have this. Here you might want to go here, then if pushed, then you get this square. Or just keep the pawn here. The usual disadvantage of pushing his a-pawn in these structures is that you give up the b4 square, but black doesn't have the knight anymore to go there because he played it here. So we shall come back to that. And oh my goodness, what the hell happened here? Okay, so we have this position, which was better for white. Yeah. It went to the end, which was, bring back my game, I want to see it. Okay, so you had this position here, which looks still, this is where I went wrong. After takes, he missed bishop f5, which is quite easy to miss. Yeah, and the point is that now you're going to take back this knight, but the pawn's going to be defended, and you're going to have 2 passed pawns. So that's a nice move from black. Yeah, and here I think the move is this, because then you don't give black 2 passed pawns. I mean, this is not a nice move to have to play because you're sort of overloading your knight a bit. I think it might be necessary because after takes, you can take back with a knight, take here, you're defending the pawn. But after takes with a rook, this is just busted. I mean, this bishop is really strong. These pawns are way too quick. Yeah. Yeah, and the point is after takes. Takes here. Yeah, just take. Yeah, so white resigned. That's a shame. Pablo ruined a nice position. How is Timo getting on? We haven't seen his game in a while. This looks very equal. I hope he isn't having connection issues. Oh, he's offline, it says. Has he messaged? No. Because his position is just better here. It's not winning, but the point is, this is quite instructive because both sides have 6 pawns, but white has 2 pawn islands and black has 3, and this pawn is isolated and very, very weak. So you don't want to trade rooks here, because then that helps protect these pawns. So what you probably want to play is something like this. And then the idea coming here, and if trades, then just take back with the queen and you maintain the good structure. And you even have back rank issues here. Okay, so Timo's back, that's a relief. So I don't like this move because it weakens your king. If you imagine some sort of endgame where you're better in a queen endgame and your queen is busy taking this pawn, then black's going to have this perpetual check on these squares here, which he wouldn't have had with a pawn on f2. Further, this book was defended anyway, And if you take, then you don't want to take back with the pawn, because you don't want to give yourself an isolated pawn. You want to take back with the queen anyway, so I don't like f3. I also don't like b5 very much, because if you imagine a position, these pawns, Timo wants to push these pawns anyway, to trade them, so you turn a 3 against 2 into a 1 versus nothing, and black's just helping him do that by pushing his pawn a bit further. Here, I would even consider going into the rook endgame, like this. Oof. See, in endgames, you want to bring your king into the game, but here, I'm a bit scared because the queens are still on the board. I know it's just queen and rook, but that's more than enough material to mate. Like, I think you can apply a lot of pressure here with keeping your king safe on g1 and your f2 pawn there. The team is also low on time, so here the best move, surely, is this. Either forcing trades or king here, and then if you go king there, then I'm fairly sure you can trade everything, and that will be a winning king and pawn endgame. That's even better. I didn't see that. Well done, Timo. Because you apply the same pressure, this is now pinned. And see, this is the problem with playing f3 here and f6 here, is that some lines, this queen and this queen can employ the fact, take advantage of the fact that the king is weakened and use this pin or these checks. So you have to play king here. And then you're going to... First, you're going to bring your king in one square. Because black is completely paralysed. Can't do anything. So first you're going to bring your king in there. And if you play here, then you just have this move. Yeah, this is nice. Really good technique from Timo. If you have this check, then you come here and there's no more checks. And you have to come back and defend the pawn anyway. And the point is that after trades, this king is one square closer and in fact is going to get the opposition. Whereas here, black's king can become quite active. This might be the difference between winning and drawing in this line. And the reason I say this might be a winning king and pawn endgame is because even though there's an equal number of pawns, white has a lot more targets. It's far harder for black to enter the position, and there's far fewer pawns for black to be able to take. Very nice. You can imagine a position where you win your position and you come into d5, and suddenly you're threatening into c6, into b6, taking these pawns, etc. So now I think might be the time to trade, yeah. Let's see. And now here. This is fine too. You have to have calculated this. And then suddenly black is taking all these pawns. Let's put the eval on here. Kind of interesting. Yeah, this white slightly better. I wonder if... Yeah, king f5 didn't work. Okay. Okay, this makes sense because black's saying I'm going to come in here, 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 and then push this pawn, right? All the way to the end. But now this looks a lot better for white because you're making his outside passed pawn. And yes, black has a passed pawn as well. But if you imagine a position where white has to take this pawn because it's passed and black rushes over to take this pawn because it's passed, after taking, white's king is going to be really close to these pawns and can rush in and take them. Oh, I've just lost connection. Okay, I'm back. Yes, I think Timo will convert this, but we'll come back to that. Pablo's playing his second game, and he has a Caro-Kann, his favourite, and he goes for this, I think it's called the bayonet attack. It's a very aggressive line with g4. Yeah, but this looks equal-ish. I mean, white's obviously slightly better with the space advantage, but I don't see anything damaging happening because this king is very safe here. The only thing that concerns me is this queen getting trapped, and in fact, is white threatening that right now? That's very nasty, I think he is. Let's hope Pablo spots that. I think the best move might be here. So if takes, then you take back, and if here, then you have this. That does win a queen, right? I'm not going mad. Okay, let's see if Pablo spots that. I feel like I'm being a bit slow this evening, I'm very sorry, but Okay, let's come back in a second. Yep, Pascal is losing again. He's down a pawn, but it looks like he's down 2 pawns because these are moving so much faster than this majority here. Unless he has any tricks, this is just gone. I mean, he can't even push these pawns because this rook's doing such a good job of defending. And let's see, maybe here, 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 here. Unless white has any tricky knight jumps, I don't see how you're defending that. This is also low on time, so let's stick with this for a second. Well, let's see how it passes. Okay, so he plays g6, which I think is slightly inferior because now you're damaging your pawn structure after this take. So I've suggested h5. And then even if somehow you lose this pawn on g4, then you have pressure against h2, so it's sort of fine. Ooh, is this really nasty? Is white now threatening this? Ouch. Oh man. Yeah, and if here first to come in here, then you have this. That's gonna hurt. Eek. And I don't see a way of stopping that. Let's think. Yeah, now this. Rating of this guy, 1750 in blitz, similar to Pablo. Oh, this works too, though. I just thought this was... maybe this is actually even cuter because it's with a pawn, but this just made so much sense to me. But yeah, now you've got to go back here, and then this, and that's over. Oh, let's see the end of this. Timo again has done the B team proud, winning all his games. Let's see how this went. Finished. Oh, let's just go back here. Somewhere here. Yeah, so yeah, this king and pawn endgame. Yeah, so this is what I think exactly what I was going to say happened here. Yeah, so look, the point is that white takes this pawn, black takes this pawn, but now even though it's equal pawns, this king is going to run into here, yeah, and just take these pawns, just munch them all up before, and black probably won't even be able to take one in time. So yeah, here we go. Yeah, exactly. Well done, good technique, Timo. That king f2 to e3 to d3 was fantastic. And Pascal did lose. He just got, I want to say, so nearly mate here. But either way, he's getting a queen. I want to mate with the rook, but yeah. So that brings the overall score to, when it refreshes in a second, 3-3. Oh, this is really tense. Oh my goodness. So we have Harry Hasparov, who is down a queen and is going to be hard pressed to bring this back because here, yeah, and then here, but you might all of this. Ooh, Pablo. Okay, Pablo's probably going to lose this, but you never know. He's a tricky guy. Might come up with something here. Saf is... Ooh. Let's count some pawns all over the place. My initial instinct is... Yeah, I mean, Saf's also down the exchange. I didn't notice. So this looks losing too, but you're taking here. There are chances here. This is not over. Yeah, now you have to take, because if you... I wanted to play this, but then you get this really horrible check. Yeah. Now, I think if I was Saf, I would go... Now, what I want to set up is this, right? But you don't have time for this. So either you go here first to stop this, which makes a lot of sense. maybe, oh, actually, I know what you should do. Go here first, threaten this bishop. That bishop has to move. Yeah, nice. And then after this, now you're defending this pawn as well. Now after the bishop moves, you can come here, and then you defend against this square. However, my question is, can white push this immediately? Just give up that bishop? No, he cannot, because of, boom, that move. And if you go here, then you, yeah, so now here, let's have a look at that line again. My idea was this, and then check g3, queen takes f3, a8, check, king g7, yeah, that loses. So you'd have to play check. That might be a perpetual. Anyway, that didn't happen here, and then nice, this is exactly what I said. This is very well played from Saf. We need to win this game to draw the match. I think Pablo's going down against Oxford B. It's a tight match here, and we come into this with 3-3 with 4 players, so it's first to 4.5 points. And it looks like Saf is losing here, but his opponent is low on time, and it's quite hard for him to make progress. And these dark squares are looking very juicy. If you can imagine somehow picking up this pawn, so it's not a threat anymore, and then setting up a battery, then I like Saf's chances. It's just a big if about this pawn, which is tying down a lot of black's pieces at the moment. See, this one pawn and this queen are tying down this bishop and this. Yeah, so now you've got to come here. Otherwise, you're just pushing for glory. Play it nice and quickly, keep him down on time. Let's see how Pablo is doing. He is dead lost, but fighting. Dead lost, but fighting. What you really want to do here is keep the position nice and closed, so this queen doesn't get too many squares. And also keep pieces on the board. Now, it almost looks like you can trap white's queen here, but you can't, sadly. I sort of want to play this, but yeah, one of these. Oh, here? Oh, actually, yeah, doesn't this just win this piece? Oh, Pablo's making a comeback here, so he's going to have a rook and a piece for the queen, which is still probably lost, but yeah, takes. Come on, Pablo, just take it quickly. You're down on time. Yeah, I don't like this move either because that blocks his bishop. You can just come here, maybe. Wait, maybe this is a problem. Ah, no, come here first. Yeah, come here because then you can't. Yeah, play here because then here. The point is this: if you have to move this bishop somewhere, this knight's not still hanging because the queen can't move to a square where this knight is still attacked. You know what? If Pablo wasn't down on time here, I would like his chances. I trust him to play well from here. You have ideas like this and opening up, and you know, it's not impossible to imagine a way of winning this. These knights can be very tricky. But I think he has to find this. And he's running low and low on time. This is not the time to use time. There's only like 2 moves you got here, right? Yeah, he plays this, fantastic. But he should have done that a minute sooner. He spent 1 minute and 3 seconds of his just over 2 minutes on that move. And at this point, probably all moves are losing, or technically, so it's worth playing quickly. So here, and that bishop's not getting trapped, because you go here, and you've got this square, and you can always dance around, and if white wants to repeat and keep chasing it around, then black's going to be very happy with that. Pablo, come on. There's only 1 square this bishop can go. Yeah, but this doesn't work. You just take, take, take. I mean, you're threatening the fork, but... Okay, how's Saf getting on? He looks losing. Not, I mean, materially yes, but also this check is horrible and yeah. Yeah, and black has no checks there. I mean, yes, it's bishop dark, but bishop is good. But if you say you had this check or something, and like say this bishop wasn't on the board and it was just up and white was just up the exchange rather than up a rook, you can imagine this check being really nasty because you know, come here and then you get queen check, and there's lots of mating ideas or winning the queen. But this is just going to lose for Saf, sadly. Pablo is our only hope, but he is also down. Okay, so he's got 2 rooks for a queen and bishop, which is lost, I think. But he's also got a pawn. This is really, yeah, I like, oh, come on, Pablo. But the trouble is he's can't draw this, he's actually got to win it. So this has been a game of different hearts. We've had Timo win 2-0, Pascal lose 2-0, and then Saf is going to be 1-1, and then if Pablo can make it 1-1, it's going to be a draw. So yeah, Saf's just losing. This is really interesting. Just for the sake of viewers, I'm going to put on the engine on. In case we miss a tactic. Yeah, so it says white's winning, but the engine's going to say that. But the point is there might be a tactic at some point. And with low time, we don't want to miss that. It's a bit, I know you have to play this, but it's a bit scary when you have to open up the king. Because suddenly, like, you know, these ideas come in. And the queen somewhere, that kind of thing. Queen here. Looks really difficult to deal with. Oh, but queen back, this looks... I mean, it's losing, but it looks promising. So it takes. Can you just take a pawn? Just take it. I mean, there's nothing to lose. Apart from the match. Like, I don't think you're getting your rooks forked. Oh, it's too conservative. No, that's nice. I forgot you could sack. Yeah. Yeah, you have to stop white doing that because now white's just up a piece in an endgame. But we will see this to its conclusion. We don't need to see the engine evaluation now. Yeah, this is completely hopeless. Although that move didn't make much sense because now you have no entry square for your king. What you wanted to do is go like this. Yeah, but you can just, you know, keep winning the opposition by, yeah, giving yourself tempi. I think Pablo should have come here for optimum. Yeah, now you just give up a, yeah, exactly, you give up a move, so now you have the opposition, black has to move in the structure, yeah. And Pablo goes down, so Pablo lost 2-0, Pascal lost 2-0, Timo won 2-0, and Saf won 1 and lost 1. Good games. Yeah, Oxford University B are quite a strong team for a B team, but that is a shame that happened. Yeah, there we have it. The final result, Oxford University B5, Chess Donuts 3. Anyway, thanks for the games, guys. I will probably commentate on another one of these, but hard fought. And yeah, good job. And